Some mornings, before a single word has been spoken or a phone has been checked, it feels as if a silent weight has already settled on your chest. You haven't stepped outside, you haven't read the news, and yet, there it is, heavy, suffocating, as though the day has already claimed you. Why does it feel this way? If you're an empath, you already know the answer. You carry the invisible currents of the world. You feel everything. Your environment, the unspoken moods of strangers, the unhealed wounds of loved ones, the quiet anger hidden behind polite smiles. You catch it all. You move through life like a finely tuned antenna, absorbing frequencies that don't belong to you, while your own inner signal fades into the background. And in a society that glorifies noise, constant notifications, loud opinions, unresolved trauma, endless speed, being the quiet observer can make you feel out of place. You notice what others miss, you sense what they bury, and instead of being valued for this, you often wonder if you're doing life wrong. That's when the guilt creeps in. The guilt of wanting space, of declining invitations, of drawing boundaries that others don't understand. The guilt of cutting ties with a toxic friend, or even more painfully, with a parent. And worst of all, the guilt that whispers maybe you are the problem. But pause for a moment. What if the real issue is not you, but the system that convinced you to feel shame for protecting your own peace? Carl Jung once said something that has the power to shift your entire outlook. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Yet empaths often spend years living out roles written by others, becoming the fixer, the healer, the listener, the emotional sponge. And how many of those people ever stop to ask how you're really doing? Still, the pattern continues because somewhere along the way you were trained to believe it's selfish to walk away. Respect your parents, even if it means tolerating emotional abuse. Keep the family bond, even if it erodes your mental health. But here's the truth. Those beliefs are outdated, built on survival, and they keep you trapped in cycles of burnout and spiritual disconnection. No friend, no boss, no parent has the right to drain your life force. Love without respect is not love, and relationships without reciprocity are not sacred. They are cages for the soul. In Jungian psychology, individuation is described as the journey of uncovering the self that exists beyond masks and expectations. For empaths, this journey demands something essential. You must learn to detach from roles, from guilt, from shame, from the illusion that being good requires self-abandonment. You were not born to carry the emotional debris of others. You were born to transform. Yet how can transformation happen if your very energy field is tangled in other people's shadows? Imagine trying to run a race while dragging heavy chains that aren't even yours. No wonder you feel exhausted. So if you find yourself constantly tired, doubting your worth, questioning why motivation slips away, it's not because you're lazy. It's because you're energetically cluttered, burdened by what does not belong to you. Before we continue, let's pause for a moment. If you're someone who thrives on expanding your mind, who longs to explore the hidden layers of life, make sure you stay connected with fractal wisdom. That way, you never miss insights like this. And stay with me until the end, because we'll unpack how detachment, shadow work, and yes, even a little strategic selfishness can unlock the purpose you've been searching for. Now let's talk about something rarely addressed, yet critical. No one tells empaths this truth early enough. Being good can destroy you. From a young age, we are conditioned, especially if you are sensitive, intuitive, or deeply aware, to believe that goodness equals self-sacrifice, that your strength lies in how much pain you can hold, how long you can remain in relationships that drain you, how much you can endure before you break. But Carl Jung made it unmistakably clear. When you deny your instincts, your shadow takes over. The shadow is everything you repress, your unspoken anger, your grief, your desire to walk away from people who misuse your kindness. Ignoring it doesn't erase it. It festers, it builds, and one day it erupts. That is why so many empaths, after years of being the nice one, suddenly explode. They burn out. They snap. They spiral. Not from weakness, but because they were never taught the simple truth. Their needs matter too. So let's say it clearly, without hesitation. You have the right to walk away from the friend who only calls when crisis strikes, from the family that mocks your sensitivity, from the partner who manipulates you into emotional labor day after day. This isn't selfish, it's sacred. Healthy detachment is not coldness. It is the highest form of self-love an empath can embody. Jung emphasized individuation, the lifelong process of becoming your true self, as the only authentic path to inner peace. But individuation cannot grow in the soil of people-pleasing. It cannot survive where guilt convinces you that protecting yourself is heartless. Not everyone is destined to walk beside you on your healing journey. Some people exist in your story only as part of your wounding. Some relationships are contracts that must dissolve once the lesson is learned. And guilt? Guilt is not a sign of morality. It is a programmed, low-frequency trap designed to keep you obedient. The same is true of shame. These emotions are not sacred. They are energetic toxins. You don't need to heal them by carrying them. You need to release them. And here's something even more liberating, something that can shift your perspective in an instant. You are allowed to care less. Not about life, not about your dreams, not about your true calling, but about the opinions of others, about who misreads your silence, about disappointing those who once thrived on your lack of boundaries. Jung said it best. Shame is a souling emotion, and he was right. It devours your drive, stifles your inner fire, and slowly turns natural motivation into quiet fear. You can almost feel it creeping in like a heavy fog, numbing the very spark that once kept you moving forward. So the solution, yes, it's radical, it's powerful, and it works. You begin to care more about your energy than your reputation. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop rescuing those who don't want to grow. And most importantly, you stop believing that your worth lies in your ability to be endlessly available. And then something magical happens. So subtle at first, but undeniable. Motivation begins to return. Not forced, not fabricated, but as natural and as breath itself. Because when you clear away the noise, there's suddenly space. Space for your own voice to be heard. Space for your vision to unfold. Space for your actual mission to rise to the surface. And now that we've pulled guilt up by the roots, what do we plant in its place? One word: clarity. Clarity is the antidote to empathic overwhelm, the clean light after a storm of other people's chaos. But clarity doesn't come from doing more, adding more, or pushing harder. It emerges from boundaries, energetic boundaries, what I call energy hygiene. Think of it like brushing your soul's teeth each day. Without it, residue builds. Because here's the unspoken truth no one tells empaths. You don't need more motivation. You need less interference. Carl Jung might not have used the term energy hygiene, but he deeply understood the reality of psychic boundaries. He believed our unconscious constantly speaks through archetypes, symbols, and energetic impressions. If you're an empath, you already live in that invisible world. But without intentional boundaries, you absorb what isn't yours. Other people's fears, collective anxieties, even the emotional debris of a toxic ex still clinging to your aura months later. That's not poetic exaggeration. It's energetic law. And here's something not everyone knows. Not all energy is sacred. Some of it is sticky, parasitic, manipulative, and deliberately distracting, especially from people who've never done their inner work. If you are sensitive, open-hearted, and spiritually awake but unprotected, you are the perfect host for their chaos. That's why clearing your space is not optional. It's essential. Take inventory. Is your phone a portal for panic every morning? Are your DMs a dumping ground for other people's crises? Is your home still full of objects from someone who hurt you, but you couldn't throw away? Do you sleep next to a person who secretly resents your glow? Every object, every conversation, every room carries a frequency. And frequency is either lifting you or looping you, helping you rise, or keeping you stuck in circles you don't belong in. Jung taught that the unconscious is a vast reservoir, but you must descend into it with awareness, not passively. Empaths do this unconsciously all the time. They feel deeply, but they often forget to pause and ask the simplest, most powerful question. Is this mine? Here's a practical start. Burn the letter. Block the number. Clean your space with music and intention. Let every sound carry away what does not belong to you. Meditate without chasing an outcome, with no goal other than releasing what weighs you down. Use this simple mantra as your compass. If it drains me, it doesn't deserve me. And now comes perhaps the most radical step of all. Start saying no without explanation. Yes, even to your mom, especially to the one who insists, after all I have done for you. Empaths are often conditioned, almost programmed, to confuse love with suffering. But that belief must end here. Because if your light is real, and it is, then you are here to create, to build, to heal, to innovate, to share. That requires energy, focus, and unapologetic detachment. And let's be clear, this isn't cruelty, it's clarity. You are not being mean by protecting your mission. What you are doing is refusing to be someone's emotional landfill any longer. So don't spend your life trying to fix everyone. Instead, fix your frequency. When your energy rises, the right people will naturally align with you. No longer will you be trapped in survival mode, drained by other people's chaos. Remember, you were never meant to be small. But somewhere along the way, they convinced you that kindness meant silence, that empathy meant constant availability, that spirituality meant endless self-sacrifice. That was never truth. It was programming, conditioning, a system designed to keep you useful but never powerful. Because a powerful empath, that's rare and that's dangerous to the status quo. And whether you realize it or not, that is exactly what you are becoming. Carl Jung's concept of individuation was never about blending in or conforming. It was about integration. It was about meeting your shadow, owning your wholeness, and stepping into the fullness of yourself, not the watered-down version the world told you to be. And here's the reality no one wants to admit. That process is uncomfortable. It can be isolating. It can even shatter the identity you once clung to. Which is why, for empaths, the path back to true motivation is not about hustle, it's about healing. And the deepest healing of all is granting yourself permission to be selfish. Not in the narcissistic, screw everyone kind of way, but in the soul-rooted, I choose me way. The way that honors your boundaries, that values your time, that says with certainty, my needs matter too. When you stop over-functioning, something incredible happens. You begin to hear your own voice again. You remember your mission, your art, your path, your essence. That's where real motivation comes from. Not from force, not from deadlines, not from guilt, but from alignment. You get clear, you get still, you get real. And suddenly, you stop leaking energy into other people's wounds. You stop explaining your healing. You stop apologizing for your glow. Because you finally realize something profound. No one has the right to dim you. Not even those who claim they love you, especially not them. If that love comes with control, with guilt, with obligation, it is not love. And so, it is perfectly okay to leave the dinner table if your soul isn't being fed. It is okay to crave a life that feels clean, light, intentional. It is okay to guard your space as though it were sacred, because it is. And here's the wild twist most people never see coming. When you finally become selfish enough to heal, the right people start finding you. People who don't need to be fixed. People who are walking their own path with courage and responsibility. People who love you in your power, not in your pain. So don't water yourself down just to be digestible. Don't shrink to fit into someone else's small vision of who you should be. Let the full you be seen, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Let your focus return by detoxing from what was never truly yours. Let your energy, pure and unshaken, speak louder than your words. Because your mission as an empath is not to save everyone. Your mission is to stay clear, to stay sovereign, and to become the lighthouse. And remember, the lighthouse does not chase after ships. It doesn't beg them to notice its light. It stands tall, steady, and unshakable against storms. Some ships will find their way guided by its glow, and others will crash into the rocks. That outcome is not your responsibility. Your only task is to shine, to radiate the truth of who you are. And here's the beauty. When you stand in your clarity, you give silent permission for others to rise too. You remind them that their healing is their own, and that real love is not found in sacrifice, but in sovereignty. So if this message feels like medicine for your soul, don't keep it hidden. Share it, because someone else may need this light as much as you do. Hit subscribe so you never miss a moment like this, and let your voice be heard in the comments below. Let's talk about what you're walking away from, and even more importantly, what you're walking toward. This isn't just a channel, it's a space, a sanctuary, for deep feelers who are finally choosing themselves.